It is a rare occurrence that one can be so passionate about a game that is the 6th entry in an already established franchise without having played the others, but that's precisely what makes this game so enticing. Super Adventure Island 2 is charming, intriguing, and downright fun. The other games in the Adventure Island series don't look unappealing to me, they just don't seem to be my style of gameplay. The previous games are all side-scrolling platformers that had the protagonist riding a skateboard, collecting fruit or else he would starve. I don't get it either. Joking aside, these games were well received and loved by many. The game I'm focusing on is absolutely considered to be the fish out of water in this context. It was the last release of the series until the WiiWare title Adventure Island: The Beginning was announced. The game was created by Hudson and released on the Super Nintendo in the year before I was born, 1994. It's the sequel to the first game in the series to embrace the super at the beginning of its name, like many other titles of the time. The game starts out with Master Higgins and his wife Tina setting off on a raft for a pleasant honeymoon. Things go horribly wrong when a cyclone hits them and they both wash up on the shores of different beaches. Tina is shown to fall victim from a newly formed amnesia in the next scene. Master Higgins unfortunately suffers the same fate and has no recollection of who he is or what has happened. He soon gets up and sets out to set things straight. The king of Waku Waku, like the noise Pac-Man makes, soon discovered Tina, fell in love with her, and the two were to be wed. However, a gargantuan bird swoops down and kidnaps Tina at the ceremony. Master Higgins watches the entire scene unfold and agrees to help the king save Tina without realizing who she is. The ending takes a turn where it's revealed a dark wizard is in control of the bird and all other enemies and animals encountered on the way, which is actually a giant scorpion from space for some reason. Bizarre? Absolutely, and actually the entire ending of the game is very surreal and strange. I quite like the dialogue before the ending scenes, but after defeating the final boss, things get weird. This is what the writers came up with? This isn't clever at all. Hide it so the audience won't dismiss this game for poor writing. One of the aspects of this game I like most is its inclusion of elemental armor. It's your standard ice, fire, and water-based equipment set. The difference is, they work exactly how they should. Instead of simply having ice enemies weak to an ice sword found in a snowy level, the fire equipment is actually found in the cold area and is strong against ice enemies. The Thunder Aqua equipment is cleverly designed to work best against water-based foes. This all makes sense. I feel this design choice was brilliant and adds another level of complexity into the already terrific RPG-inspired system. I feel certain other games would benefit from this greatly. I would love to see it used in a Zelda adventure. Imagine a game where instead of Ocarina of Time's simple fireproof and heat-resistant Goron tunic, it also came with a fire sword that's weak against enemies of the same element, but great against ice. It could even be used in puzzles, much like the already established fire and ice arrows. This would be a simple addition that would add so much more depth to something many people would overlook. Also contemplate in a fire dungeon, if there were some added benefit, such as an increase of strength, to wearing a complete set of armor, meaning you're wielding the fire sword with the Goron tunic. Players would have to balance out whether or not it'd be a good decision to take the matched equipment perk and wear a tunic that grants them the ability to resist fire, but be forced to use a weapon that is weak against the surrounding mobs of the temple. With this said, it makes me feel like the combined enemies of its genre, and it being an RPG, really give the game a new range of potential. It can add layers of strategy to a game that wouldn't normally require it, and that would be an aspect that many games would certainly benefit from. Super Paper Mario is another game that comes to mind as another game that incorporates RPG elements to its platforming nature, and I feel is a very fresh and unique experience that set the game apart from others, granting itself a deserved place in history. Other games should follow these examples. I would love to see a 3D adventure game, like Zelda, take on this task. I do have to mention Skyward Sword and its customization, although I didn't initially think of it because it didn't prove to be too useful for me, at least in my personal playthrough. There aren't too many aspects of this game that are necessarily dark, although it does push the suspicion that Nintendo is trying to ensure a gambling addiction into kids. There are 3 very fun minigames located in Casino Island, but the rewards you are able to purchase are ridiculously expensive, and the amounts of money combined is not something you'd normally find in a game by any other means. The first game, Flash for Cash, is nothing special, although it is quite entertaining. It is a roulette style, featuring various color amounts for the player to bet on, with a multiplier of 20 being the highest. If the player lands on the skull, it's game over and all the money bet is lost. The second game is incredibly straightforward, a slot machine with various amounts to win. The amounts to win are so high though. and nearly impossible to land on with ridiculous odds, much like a real-life slot game. The final game is one I use to grind for coins, and it's called Run for Dough. I appreciate the pun. The game is just like betting on a horse race, featuring enemies from within the title. Bets are placed on which enemy the player thinks will win, with a lower multiplier set for the ones, with a greater chance of winning. This is the game that will net you the most coins because it's actually quite easy to win. And you get a lot more in a shorter amount of time with the other game options. The strategy is to bet the maximum amount, 99 coins, on the one with the lowest multiplier. Sometimes the odds will be a little too close together, in that case it's the player's call. This game is awesome because while it is luck based, it is usually always a 1/3 or 50-50 chance of winning. Even the lowest multiplier has at least a 6 times payoff, so it's very worth it rather than waiting to get incredibly lucky with the slot machines or roulette. This one doesn't require too much luck, just a little bit of time. Now that the rules for the game and the strategy for one is established, it's time to grind those coins because the prizes Master Higgins can exchange coins for are extremely high. The life bottle offered for 1500 coins is just about the only thing the average player will get, because that's a reasonable amount of coins to have at that point in the game. The other options, which include the light equipment set, light shield, armor, and sword, as well as a new item, the boomerang, are more coins than I believe anyone would ever come across playing the game normally outside of the casino. That's the point of this casino though, it's the monotony of grinding for something that would take a lot of time to achieve, and it's always relieving to do so. With that said, I have never purchased the light sword. It's just too much, and my cap in recent playthroughs has been the armor. I would certainly do it if I had enough time, and may do it in the future. The light shield is 9,000 coins, the boomerang 14,000. The rest are even absurdly higher than that. One final thing to note about this game is its music. It is absolutely wonderful and incredibly charming. My personal favorite is the track that plays on the island of Hia Hia, the ice world. The song is so magical feeling and certainly brings me, as a player, on an adventure into a chilly place. Listen to this segment and tell me it's not one of the greatest things you've ever heard.